the real drop in scoring. I've been joking around about this for I guess 2 weeks now. As it's really sunk in through the first 3-4 weeks. You're still kind of your head spinning. You're still kind of make heads or tails of what's what. I always say there are seasons within the season. But starting about maybe 2 weeks ago, I'm starting to realize, okay, why is this significantly harder than usual, and why are all these totals just so ridiculously low? And it all adds up here to a big picture of we are in again the fantasy. Actually, no, the fanfreshen, the great fanfreshen. I should give Jim Cramer full credit for that. I mapped it out. I sent him an email, and him and I commiserate on doing this type of work. I guess speculative analysis, if you will, and it is very, very similar. Similar. I outlined everything, what I was thinking. Sent him an email, by the way, at like 3 in the morning on Tuesday morning, going into Wednesday. Tuesday going into Wednesday. And of course, he responded at 3:47 a.m. in the morning. I believe that's when he wakes up right away. Um, One word. That's it. The only response. I sent him maybe a little paragraph. Fanfreshen. So I like it. I know it doesn't roll off the tongue, but I need something to cope with the pain that is trying to handicap this darn National Football League, but more importantly, doing things like props and general fantasy analysis, especially with the props, being an overs person, being a fantasy person. The props, if you notice, I always go over. I mean, who the hell wants to bet it under? I mean, let's be real here. I mean, are you that boring in life that you like to bet unders, hope that we don't see production? I know I'm being very dramatic there, and look, if a win is a win is a win, but I'm just programmed to look for production. I'm a fantasy person, so I take overs, and I feel like my props have actually been really good, at least process wise. I've been hosed as usual a bunch of times, but the lack of scoring is obviously a really, really big problem. I don't have many answers here on this podcast, honestly, but maybe some thoughts that could help. But let's take a look at the quarterback landscape because, we have a bunch of different reasons why scoring is down. Teams are taking away the big plays. So long touchdowns are kind of they're rare nowadays. You used to see them happen, with the course of a minute of NFL action. 5 years ago, we got maybe two or three of them. Now it's like you have maybe two or three a week. But anyways, the play of the quarterback and the status of the quarterback position, the status of it, if you will, is just extremely poor right now. Looking at my our rankings here and our projections, we've got tiers, of course, but weird tiers. You've got your elites, no buys this week, so Hurts, Mahomes, obviously Allen, and then Lamar is encroaching there, and that's a tier. Then you have your, by the way, once you get past that tier and Hertz has got, this knee issue that doesn't seem like much. He wasn't even on the injury report on Wednesday heading into week number 8, but still, the guy has had availability issues. After those four, though, that's it. In terms of dudes with like no blemishes or no concerns. I mean, Justin Herbert is in the next tier. Things are a little sketchy right now with the LA Chargers. He's not playing all that well. System doesn't seem to be great. Kellen Moore. I mean, can we trade Kellen Moore back to the Cowboys? Because Tony Pollard's dying as well. I kept saying last year how great of a job Kellen Moore was doing, by the way, getting Tony Pollard in space. And I was worried about losing that with Tony Pollard, and that's really coming to fruition. Does beg the question, where the hell is Austin Eckler the last couple of weeks? But I think he's a good trade for guy, a buy low guy. But yeah, Herbert's not perfect. Burrow would be next up. The calf and the injury is certainly a factor there. Maybe he's going to be good to go coming off the bye. He did say on Wednesday that he pretty much said he's 100% good to go. Tua, of course. Now we have a Tyreek Hill injury with this hip. We'll see about that. But Tua has shown some blemishes here. Samples, a little bit of a sample size guy. He can crush 4, 5, 6 defenses in a row, but you get a certain type of D that can get pressure on him, then all of a sudden the story and the production, everything changes with Tua Tagovailoa. I think we put Kirk Cousins in this pretty high end group, but look how shabby it is already. We're in tier 2 essentially still. I would put Dak Prescott maybe in this tier. So I have basically only named 10 quarterbacks. So we already have a massive drop off. And then now we have the guys who are mostly passable. I'd put CJ Stroud there already, Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, not really getting a lot of touchdowns, but I'll put him in there as mostly passable and reliable. Geno Smith, it's not going well there, but that's kind of the end of that. And again, I have still only listed fewer than 15 quarterbacks. So more than half the field are completely suspect and week to week. And again, this is the worst quarterback group from 1 to 32 starting quarterbacks for a single week in the NFL. 2023 week 8 is the worst quarterback week that I have ever seen in 30 years in this business. It is absolutely absurd how bad it is. Let's go through it again. Hurts, Mahomes, Jackson, Allen. Okay. Herbert, Lawrence, Tua, Kirky. Okay. Dak, Burrow. Now we're into that definite second, third tier. CJ Stroud, let's call it third tier. Stroud, Goff, Stafford, like I mentioned, Geno. And then again, still, I lost track again. I think that was 14, 15. Still fewer than half the league, half the starters. Here are the rest of the names, and I'll just reel them off consecutively because it's almost surreal to hear all these names right in a row, just reeled off. These are starting quarterbacks for week 8 of the National Football League in 2023. Desmond Ridder, Jordan Love, Sam Howell, Mac Jones, Russell Wilson, very shaky, Gardner Minshew, Derek Carr, still Derek Carr, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Kenny Pickett, still not playing particularly well, Tyrod Taylor, Zach Wilson, Bryce Young, Tyson Bagent, Josh Dobbs, PJ Walker, and Will Levis. That is just absolutely repugnant and brutal. I mean, there's no two ways to nothing else to say about it other than when you're out there doing trades, making pickups, always remember, and this applies to the running backs too, because the quarterback is the most important player on the field. But when I look for wide receivers, when I'm trying to tie break wide receivers, things like that, I'm always asking myself, okay, well, look at the quarterback. Look who's throwing these dudes the ball. So beware of these receivers that are playing with these shaky quarterbacks. And it also means to place maybe a little bit of a higher value on some of these receivers with these quarterbacks who you can certainly trust, and really just focus on focus here. This is your focus when you're making trades here for the stretch run. And then again, working that waiver wire, Jalen Hurts, just going off our quarterback rankings for week 8, Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith's a good trade for guy right now. AJ Brown, obviously he's a beast. Dallas Goedert was a good trade for person 2 weeks ago, as I mentioned in my trade article. So that's working. Patty Mahomes, that is a unique situation with Patrick Mahomes being Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey as well. But at least we have Rashee Rice now. That's a thing. Finally, someone has stepped up. So it could be worse there. And certainly Isaiah Pacheco has been phenomenal. Lamar Jackson, he is supporting, at the very least, Zay Flowers and certainly Mark Andrews. Now, all of a sudden, the offense is good, starting to click. Maybe Gus Edwards now is a thing. It's an offense that's working, a quarterback who's playing well. And correspondingly, the players around him, are viable. So this is where you look for opportunities. So, okay, so maybe they get better and better and better. So there's more production to go around. Like, who's going to step up? Is it Rashad Bateman? Maybe. I'm not going to say yes, it is, but he does have a good pedigree. I'm not going to probably back a OBJ. So maybe it is Rashad Bateman. Josh Allen for the Bills. Here's another good example. Obviously, he's Josh Allen. He's got his problems, his warts, but he's physically gifted and he's very much a proven commodity. You want to go bat for this guy. Gabe Davis, Gabe Davis did have a ball thrown to him in the end zone last week. It was a little too high. Maybe he would have scored, but not exactly getting it done on a consistent basis. So maybe on the very low end, maybe a guy like Khalil Shakir. If you're in a league where nothing is available in the waiver wire, maybe that's a guy to look at. At least we're getting decent quarterback play in Buffalo there, of course. Justin Herbert. Of course, Josh Palmer, that ship sailed. We've got some great data point articles about him. Make sure you check out Chris Weck's article at fantasypoints.com. 5 stats to know. I believe we make that a freebie every week. There it is. 5 stats to know was just published this afternoon by Chris Weck. One of them, I'll pull up right now, is related. Here it is. Josh Palmer ranks 13th in yards per route run since Mike Williams' injury, ahead of Keenan Allen, who ranks 40th. I've always been a Josh Palmer person, if you've been following this, so not surprised. But I did pick up in my number one league 2 weeks ago, and I know he's hurt right now, Gerald Everett. So I picked him up, and then, hey, he scored 2 games since. Of course, he had that quad injury that kept him out of practice, but there's another example, and this is how we kind of maneuver. We go to the positivity here, because otherwise, I keep saying with this fan freshen term, the great fan freshen, with scoring down to its lowest levels in 13 years this year, that I feel like a stockbroker in 1931 out there trying to do business, and it's like bone dry out here. So anyways, back to the topic here, trying to, navigate these troubled waters, if you will. Trevor Lawrence. I still don't get what's going on there. I think the Zay Jones injury certainly hurts. And then, of course, Calvin Ridley not playing very well. His confidence may be a little shot, so you're worried about that. But, Evan Ingram. Yeah, I think the only solution potentially right now is Zay Jones. So that's a tip, actually, when you really think about it, because Trevor Lawrence right now is on pace for 19 touchdown passes. Come on now. He had 25 last year. So he's not going to end up with 19. He's probably going to end up with 26 or even 25. Even if it's only 25, that means he's going to get like over 1.5 a game. So things are going to get better. So pick up Zay Jones now if he was dropped in a deeper league. And once he's back, dude will probably start scoring because, what's been missing? Why aren't we getting the touchdowns? The answer is Zay Jones. He's kind of their red zone guy. I know he dropped a couple touchdowns. Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins, obviously, were good there. I don't know if we'll have any standouts or breakouts, though, with even if Tyreek misses time. It's a little bit of a committee. Not even sure who I'd want to pick here with Chase Claypool added. Probably Berrios, but you've got Cedric Wilson all of a sudden coming on, and he's actually pretty talented. I might actually go Cedric Wilson. I see Robbie Chosen as technically the backup to actually no, he's a backup to Waddle. These guys are all interchangeable, I'm sure. Chase Claypool, technically the backup. I bet you they could use Cedric Wilson for Tyreek if they really needed to, although I guess he's more inside, but he can play outside. But I don't know if we get any solutions with Tua, but at least we have some good quarterback play. Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. Keep looking at KJ Osborne. I think the Vikings are actually on the rise, so maybe they can support 2 running backs. Cam Akers has looked really good. There's an example of a situation where, again, quarterback's playing pretty well. You have a chance to be consistent. Dak Prescott, I picked him up. I traded for him in my number one league 2 weeks ago. I kind of, I saw something potential there, buying opportunity on the heels of that ugly loss against the Niners. I think it's looking pretty good in that regard. How about a little Brandon Cooks? Michael Gallup had a bunch of targets in their last game. I liked his over prop number. He should have had it multiple times. He dropped at least one touchdown pass. So I would go to Brandon Cooks as more reliable, maybe Jake Ferguson, because they're going to start picking up production here with the passing game because they're going to be a passing team. I think they can't run the ball that well with Tony Pollard between the tackles. There's another example of a situation to improve your potentially dire straits, if you will, with the lack of scoring. Joe Burrow and Bengals. I think you look at T. Higgins. I think we'll probably look back at the end of the year if T. Higgins returns, of course, as right now being coming out of the bye, like the optimal time to trade for T. Higgins because it only takes a big game or two for the value to soar. So I just don't know about Irv Smith at tight end there, by the way. But hey, keep using Joe Mixon. C.J. Stroud, we're well above water there, doing well. So Nico Collins can keep it up. Tank Dell back this week. Pick him up. That's kind of his boy. Dalton Schultz, we gave you that one a couple of weeks ago. I feel good about him again this week in week 8. So we're good there. We're creating. He's like a job creator, CJ Stroud. Because he's playing well, he's creating jobs, aka opportunities for his players, some of his skill players, to actually be viable in the fantasy world. So thank you, CJ. Jared Goff, again, he's more of a solid guy, though, just treading water above water, but well above water. And, we have Amon-Ra, obviously, Laporta, Jameson Williams has made one play. I think he's still in the mix. We're okay there. Jimmy G, he's in and out, he's in and out. I have a very weird vibe on the Raiders. I think it's sketchy. Devontae Adams, how many more weeks is he going to stay professional before he starts, I don't know, getting ticked off? Just hope Jimmy G can stay healthy because you're okay there. Josh Jacobs, I mean, come on, dude, it's week 7, So their quarterback situation, I'd say, is precarious. Therefore, the entire team is precarious. Des Ridder, I don't know, man. The guy's getting it done for fantasy. It's very underwhelming. Turning the ball over, fumbling a lot. It's a little treacherous, but there are worse situations in fantasy. I mean, maybe Tyler Algier starts producing just a little bit more. By the way, Bijan Robinson will be fine this week per sources. Do not worry about that. Jordan Love. Now, see, this is a problem because this affects guys like Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, everybody. Those two in particular, because they're the highest 2 assets. Even the running game, he's not playing well, so therefore we're hurt. So, I don't know if we want to rely on this situation right now. This is an example. This is one of the reasons why scoring is down. Bad quarterback play. Jordan Love is part of that. Stafford we're good there. Puka and Kupp, although that killed Tyler Higbee, and I still don't trust Tutu. So really, it's a 2-man show. Better than nothing, but just a 2-man show. Backfield, a little bit of a mess. Going to be Darrell Henderson, of course, the next 3 games. Sammy Howell, oh boy. Well, he is supporting McLaurin, so we'll give him that. The throwing a lot, taking a lot of sacks. Not terrible with the picks, but he did throw one last week. But hey, McLaurin's been very good. Maybe some signs of life for Jahan Dotson, and he has certainly been good for Curtis Samuel. So I guess, this is a unique situation where it's ugly. Don't watch it. But if you roll with McLaurin every week, you're fine. If you did that with Curtis Samuel every week this season, overall, you're in pretty good shape. He's wide receiver 30 on the season. So yeah, that could be worse. Geno Smith, this one could be worse too. Certainly have the injuries with DK, especially. I did kind of predict that JSN coming out party. If you read my Sunday column, I kind of was thinking that based on a variety of factors, though didn't know DK would be inactive. But man, we're just going through all this, and I'm kind of offering up some hints here, and yeah, it's tough. So now we're down to these situations where it's a problem. Russ Wilson, this week KC. I don't know what to expect after the showing in this exact matchup 2 weeks ago. Scratch my cornea watching that one. That was pretty bad. Sean Payton looked clueless. I mean, it's got to get better because it can't get any worse. And boy, that one was in KC, so that makes some sense. So this one is in Denver. Okay. It'll probably be a little bit better. Mac Jones, I do feel better about. So my guy, Kendrick Bourne, maybe on the very, very low end. The rookie out of Liberty. They do need some juice. They do need Demario Douglas perhaps to continue. I mean, it's a long shot, but maybe a better long shot than everybody else, including Tyquan Thornton, not including Kendrick Bourne. So there's that. And Mac Jones did play better last week. Gardner Minshew, I still don't trust, but certainly he's supporting Josh Down, so that's okay. Will we get a tight end involved? I'd rather not, honestly, for Josh Downs' sake. And we'll keep an eye on Alec Pierce. Maybe some signs of life last week. He had, I think, his best yardage game of the season. Derek Carr, it will drive us insane. They have too many weapons and Derek Carr. And now Jawan Johnson is back. So this is a problem area. Chris Olave is 1 week away from being like really annoying. Michael Thomas hanging in there. Rashid Shaheed should be doing better. Sure, he's open. And Carr's not throwing it to him. Oh, great. What else is new? Thanks, Derek. Thanks for nothing. Now we have Sam Darnold. Not a guarantee, not a lock that he plays well for the Niners this week. New problem area with Brock Purdy likely out. Baker Mayfield, look, at least it's highly concentrated. It's Evans and Godwin. That's about it. Let's not consider Cade Otton. Let's try to avoid that. And let's try to avoid their third receiver, because watching Baker right now in this offense is literally like watching paint dry. Probably worse than Kenny Pickett and the Steelers. At least getting Deontay back showed last week. So we are trending in the right direction here, at least. We're not going to get to a place of euphoria or happiness, true happiness, but we might settle into a place where, you know what, actually, we're not that bad when we really look at it. In fact, we might actually be decent or actually kind of good based on the craptastic quarterback play everywhere else. So it's not all lost there for Kenny Pickett. Tyrod Taylor and / Daniel Jones. Again, Tyrod looks better than Daniel Jones. It looks like a calming influence on the entire team and the entire offense. Daniel Jones not clear for contact yet, so he could be getting Tyrod again against the Jets, which is actually a good thing at this point. I mean, maybe, too, for Daniel Jones, it's a good thing. Watch him sit down and watch Tyrod, a professional, do his thing here and collect dubs, by the way, Danny, which, two weird things this year, quarterback. I think Daniel Jones got shell-shocked. And Deshaun Watson looks a little shell-shocked too. Just throwing that out there. Might not be inclined to actually partake in NFL football much right now, or at least. And then Daniel Jones, I literally think he's out there shell-shocked. It got that bad for him. And Tyrod, all of a sudden, everything seemed better with Tyrod. But it's not a great long-term situation at all. So, at least he did get that ball to Waller. Thank God for that. Zach Wilson, week-to-week proposition. You really, the only guy you can truly trust, if you can, is Garrett Wilson. And of course, Breece Hall, the running back. And at least Breece Hall has kind of moved past everybody else. Bryce Young, actually, my guy, Mr. Adam Kaplan, told me today, talk with someone there. They actually are pretty happy with Bryce Young, all things considered. The protection's been bad. Receiving core hasn't been bad. They're looking for difference makers. They need people out there, other than Adam Thielen, obviously DJ Chark, but really the guy to look at is Jonathan Mingo. If you're looking for a stash and hope, it's Mingo. Maybe we get a little bit more Hayden Hurst. Frank Reich gave up the play calling, so they want to be a little bit more aggressive. We'll see. Maybe that O-line will improve as well. You would think it would. Tyson Bagent, look, game manager all the way. Does run just a little, but low A dot guy. So no big plays. Forget it. Hey, at least DJ Moore can get catches though, but it's not a good situation. Josh Dobbs, we're trending away from him. We're probably going to get Kyler Murray in week 10. So that's a good thing. That's a situation to buy into right now with young players. Maybe a Michael Wilson, you trade for him now or pick him up, or even a Trey McBride, get him now. Because we're pretty close to Kyler Murray o'clock there in Arizona. It's almost to me like the vibe was, maybe Kyler will play this year, maybe he won't. And then he sees Josh Dobbs string together a successful month, start getting some headlines. All of a sudden, it's like, whoa, 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 hold on a second. And now he wants to play football. And then last but not least, this is awful. Well, actually, Cleveland, too, is bad with PJ Walker. And this is a problem. You got pullback expectations. I mean, I know it wasn't awful for Elijah Moore, for example, last week, but it was scary for Amari Cooper. So this is one of the reasons why this has all been frustrating. Let's avoid these if at all possible. But the Will Levis situation likely with Tennessee is not good. Maybe, he actually is something similar to Tannehill, who has been up and down. That wouldn't be awful. And honestly, we want Will Levis because Malik Willis simply cannot matriculate the ball via the forward pass. Cannot do it unless Tajay Spears catches a dump off and brilliantly takes it like 30, 40 yards. Malik Willis cannot do it. So at least Will Levis, maybe they have a chance. And Traylon Burks, by the way, pick him up. He's back at practice. So there it is. But that was a pretty quick look around the league and a little bit of a state of affairs, a little bit of everything there, a little bit of venting, some tips for sure, though, for some proactive pickups and just staying on the side of offenses that work and quarterbacks who are actually kind of good or at least decent. That's really what our focus should be, while also trying our best to avoid poor quarterback play, which I know is very difficult to do here in 2023. That is a wrap. Thanks for listening as always. Once again, if you're not a subscriber to fantasypoints.com, Gurific25 will save you 25%. Stay tuned to all the other podcasts and the like here on the feed for the week heading into week 8, and we'll catch you next time.